I think vitamin C also helps with chlorine detox as well. So
Oh,
if
it
you look at
does.
vitamin C and chlorine detox, so it's a natural method of neutralizing chlorine. So it's really helpful. So you can always take some extra vitamin C. You can always take some extra sulfur amino acids as a means to help. Like, and I personally have a pool. I have a saltwater pool, and again, a saltwater pool, right? You have sodium chloride. That chloride gets broken off. It gets ionized down via hydrolysis, and that chloride then binds to the H in the H2O, and then it forms. You get some level of chlorine forming based on the hydrogen and the chlorine forming. And so that's how you make natural chlorine. Now, typical acceptable ranges for chlorine in pool is usually 2 to 4 part per million, 2 to 4. And of course, the public pool's going to be at that higher level, and they'll shock it more frequently, right? So my pool only gets shocked typically once per year, when I open it. And then I keep my chlorine level down to 0.5 to 1 part per million. So it's at a level where I'm doing about 10 ppm on my salt cell. And that's enough where, one, there's no odor, and two, you can put your eyes in the water, open them up, be underwater all day, and then there's no irritation at all afterwards. So that's kind of like my threshold. Like, number one, no odor, and number two, no irritation to mucous membranes and eyes. Now, one thing I do to help in my pool, I get a copper or a silver ionizer, and it sits in the pool, and then the UV light hits it, and it dispels ions into the pool. And those ions provide some kind of a natural antimicrobial benefit to prevent algae from growing, because you don't want algae growing, right? If algae is growing, that can be like fuel for other bacteria, other microbes. So you don't want those microbes either. So it's a balancing act of like not wanting your pool to become essentially a pond, right? But you don't want so much chemical in there that you're absorbing it. So I kind of find getting my chlorine level down to a 0.5 to a 1 ppm. I keep my filter going on all the time, 24/7. I just got a new filter, by the way, a new motor for it. The thing lasted 13 years. It was amazing. But that keeps running, and it goes through a sand filter. So it's really, pulling out a lot of the particulate. Obviously, I'm backwashing my pool at least once or twice a week. And then I use that ionizer. So that allows me to keep my chlorine down. I have my pool serviced by a company. And I talk to them. I say, hey, how low, because I've instructed them, I want to keep the chlorine at the lowest possible level before algae or any microbes may grow. I said, out of all the pools you guys manage, am I the lowest? They're like, yeah, they manage 500 pools. I'm like the lowest amount of chlorine out of all the pools. So I try to keep it at that level, and that's kind of a good trick, and it really helps.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned the vitamin C. That's actually one thing we did too. We were in the hotel, and if we travel and we can't bring filters with us, is they actually sell vitamin C dechlorination tablets. These are something you can buy online. It almost looks like an Alka-Seltzer tablet. It's pretty funny. But you take these little vitamin C tablets and you throw it into your bathtub, and it works. I mean, you go back into a small room where there's a bathtub filled with chlorine water. You throw in that tablet and it fizzes immediately. You go back in like 2-3 minutes and you no longer smell the chlorine. And apparently this is a widely used practice in aquaculture for raising farm raised fish, that they use the vitamin C to, it says here that they'll use it to treat wounds in farm raised
Interesting.
fish. So
Interesting.
that's
I know.
interesting.
Yeah, I know you can get water filters for the shower filters that have like inactivated carbon kind of filter as well as vitamin C in it, and that can be helpful at just kind of reducing some of that chlorine load. But if you have a pool, right? If you have a new pool, I like a salt water, and then if you can get some kind of an ozone feature put on there, or you want to add in an ionizer that floats in, that's great. Or if you want to add a UV component, I looked at doing some UV stuff. I didn't feel comfortable with it because there was a couple of recalls on the one that I had for fires. So, but if you're putting a new pool in, definitely look at getting a good system that may have a UV filter on it that will help kind of provide some decrease, microbial activity without adding more chemicals to the water, right? That's the key.
Yep. Awesome.